Hello and welcome back to the Jolly Life Ranchers YouTube channel. We are a small team making a video game called The Kid Detective, and we are going over the free-to-use visual scripting tool called Fungus. And this week, we will learn how to do things like when you press a key, you can get something to happen. We're going to learn how to do character customization, like letting the player type in a name and use it throughout your game, or have them select options in a settings menu. We'll also be covering how to quit the game this week for some reason. But all of these things go under the title of event handlers, making something happen when the player does something. It's a very vague term, but these will give you a broad set of tools to use for whatever type of game, whatever type of thing you want to do in the game. This will start to give you some more tools that you can use to problem solve your way to making the game of your dreams. And there's a game jam. The game jam is coming up June 11th through 13th. I'll leave a link in the description below. The unofficial Fungus Game Jam, Kombucham 2021. You can go to the Discord to get the link. I will be participating. I will be researching more tools that I can put in videos. Please give that a shot. So without further ado, please subscribe, give a like to the video, leave a comment below on things you're interested in seeing. We post bi-weekly, so please come back, tell your friends. I hope you learned something, and let's get into the video. Everybody, we are back with Fungus. Everybody get your blocks, because we're going to figure out all these neat execute on event or event handlers and what they mean. Up until now, the way that we have been calling blocks so far is we've learned how to use menu buttons, which obviously call another block if you want another block full of the juicy commands that you've laid out to play. And I think I've also given you a sneak preview of the flow button call, which just calls another block without you having to press an on-screen button like the menu. But today we are going to learn how to use event handlers, which call blocks in other ways. For instance, this game started block will make this block happen when the game starts. Let's test that now with a say command saying, game start. Good job. Smart. That's good enough for me. Now let's watch our beautiful say command happen as soon as the game starts. Game start. Good job, Smart. Let that be an affirmation to you today. Good job, Smart. You've heard this video so far. As you can see, when we make execute on event none, absolutely nothing will happen. Our block will not play when we start the game. Oh no, how dreadful. I'm gonna skip to this juicy specimen called input key pressed, and this will allow us to activate a block when we press a key on the keyboard. There are different ways that you can press the keys, but first, let's just choose a nice key that might be pressed in a computer game, escape. And I'll ask, are you sure you want to quit the game? This is a very functional one I'm showing you, accidentally. I came up with this off the top of my head. I'm a genius. And so when I press the escape button, I'm clicking on the screen, nothing's happening, I press the escape button. Am I sure I want to quit the game? I am. Right now, nothing happens. But if you wanted, while I'm thinking about it, if you wanted to quit the game, you would go to flow, quit, and that would quit your game. You could have someone actually press the escape button, ask them the question, are you sure you want to quit the game? You could give them a yes or no menu option, and if they said yes, you could call a block that had the quit command in it. It won't quit Unity while you're testing the game, but I assure you this quit command works when you eventually build and run your game as its own separate program. So that's just one thing you can do. You could use this input execute on event input key pressed event handler to do something as complicated as if you pressed the up arrow key, you could make your little player jump. Now you'd have to use some of these new commands in here for maybe a rigid body 2D, like a physics object, and add a 2D force to that physics object to make it jump up. You could literally do that with Fungus. I do have a video on how to make a side scroller, and I don't use Fungus, but you could literally copy my code in Fungus commands and blocks and make it that way. So just think about that. Crazy stuff. So if you want something to happen when the player presses a key, this is how you do it. If you have a main menu, you could bind the main menu to the escape key, and then when you want the player to call up the menu, you could stop all other flowcharts or stop all other blocks so that the player can go back or can go to the main menu and the rest of the game won't keep on going while the player's in the main menu. That is a handy-dandy solution for sort of the main menu or the inventory solution. And then when they press the escape key again, or when they exit the menu, you can sort of guide them. You would have to guide them back to where they were before in the game, and that might be a problem of its own, but that's how I might do that if I were you. Just another tool in the tool belt. Let's go to the UI functionality, and this will play this block when you use a UI element, which is built into Unity. So let's go to this plus right here. Let's go down to UI, and as you can see, it is rich with different UI elements you might like. I'll make a Text Mesh Pro button, which has the most beautiful text. And as you can see, it comes with a canvas, and the canvas basically makes things appear in certain positions on the screen. You can anchor this button to the bottom right side of the screen so that if players with different screen sizes play the game, the button will always be nestled in the corner of their screen. But for now, it wants a button, and so I will drag this button in. You can also click here and it will show you all the buttons you have in your scene. And so now when I click this button, it's going to ask me if I'm sure I want to quit the game. This is another solution for if you want to quit the game. I'm all about quitting the game today. And so if I press this button, it executed the block. Wowza! You can change the button's text right here in the button's text object. I can change it to quit just for this demonstration. Now, let's create another block and have it execute on the next UI event, which is end edit. I didn't know what this did earlier today, and this is how I figured out what it did. It comes with this helpful description. This block will execute when the user finishes editing the text in the input field, and it asks for an input field, which is another UI element. So I'm going to go up here to this plus, scroll down to UI, and I am going to put in an input field. If I remember correctly, I don't think it likes the Text Mesh Pro input field. If you really want to use Text Mesh Pro, I think it would be pretty easy to fix this end edit script to use Text Mesh Pro, and I could help you with that. If you need help, leave it in the comments below with using Text Mesh Pro with your own custom command. But for now, I'm going to make an input field. It is a place where the player can type whatever they want in. So this might be a place where you might want to say, instead of enter text, you might want to say enter name, like enter the player's name. That is a common thing that you might want. As you can see, I was messing around with sort of a Pokemon game system down here. Let's ignore that. That's for a later video. It's in beta. I'm doing research. I'm working hard out here. For now, let's drag this input field in here. And let's put a say command in here that says, "What a lovely name." After we do this, I'll show you how to actually sort of get the player's name. But for now, let's just do this thing. So if I type in my name James, and I press enter, then the block executes. Now, while we're at it with the handy tips for how to make your own video game, let's go ahead and save this player name into a variable so we can keep referencing it throughout the game. In like the Pokemon games, not that I'm figuring out how to try to make one of those, you write your own name and throughout the game it's like, James fought the big bad dragon. Good job. You know how that happens in Pokemon. How they fight the big bad dragon. Whew. Okay, so I'm going to go down here and create a string variable named player name. And that is where I'm going to save whatever the person types in. I did this without explaining it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to a UI command, and I am going to get the text from inside the input field that the person just typed, and I'm going to save it in the player name variable. And now I am going to reference the player's name in my say dialog, because using this handy tag down here var name. I'm going to Command C on Mac, Control C on PC to copy that, and I am going to paste it in here. My variable name is not var name. It is in fact player name. Make sure you capitalize when you capitalized in your variable, or else it will not know what variable you're talking about. Player name is in fact the coolest name. You win the game. Okay, so let's check this out. Let's see if I'm right that this works. Okay, I'm gonna type in my name, which is Gary Oak. What a lovely name. Gary Oak is, in fact, the coolest name. And I've won the game. I'm going to keep this game going. It's really good, so I just want to make it longer and more feature-rich. So, the next UI event handler is toggle changed. Now, as you might have guessed, toggle is another UI object, so I'm going to go up here once again to the plus, scroll down to the UI, and I'm going to make a toggle. I'm going to switch to the game view so that I can see my toggle. I'm going to switch to the move tool so that I can move my toggle to a place I can see it. I'm going to make it bigger because, wow, it's so small that when we play the game, it's like I can barely see it. This is all Unity basic stuff. Up here, it allows you to manipulate the shapes and rotate things, and wow, you could do so much. It's not fungus related per se, but if you want me to make a video on, you know, some basic Unity things, because they work really well with fungus, because fungus is built in Unity. So once again, I'm going to tell my block what toggle I want it to reference. I'm going to leave this for right now. This toggle is going to ask the question if you want your character to have blue hair. I am going to just put another say command here to confirm for us that we know that it's working. So I'm going to say, doesn't matter, I think your hair is pink. On our beautiful character creation screen, we are going to click the toggle, and it doesn't matter to me if you have blue hair or not. Now, if I did want to save whether the character had blue hair or not in this very strange way with the toggle, I could go down here and create a Boolean variable named blue hair, and right here where it says toggle state, I can save the state of the toggle in my variable called blue hair. And now if I wanted to say something about that, I would say, if blue hair is true, then I would say, love it. James from Team Rocket is cool. Okay, so if the toggle is unchecked, it should say nothing, and if it is, we should acknowledge that we love the player's blue hair. Let's see if this works. It does nothing, and now when I check it, we support them and their life choices, because we want them to be able to create the character that they long to be in their hearts. Let's move on. I'm going to cover sprite interactions in the next video. So for now, to end the video, let's check out these scene event handlers. I'm going to just create a new block to add on to our lengthy game. And I'm going to make this a flowchart enabled. This doesn't make sense to have in the same flowchart because it's a flowchart enabled block. And will play when the flowchart that it's in, as you guessed, is enabled. Exactly what enabling a flowchart is. So I'm going to go up here and create another flowchart in my scene. And I'm going to name this audio flowchart, and this new block in the scene, I'm going to have it be a flowchart enabled block. And I'm going to, as you guessed it, have it play us some music. We will cover fungus audio in another video, but let this be the start of something beautiful for you. I'm going to play this beautiful song that comes with fungus. Let's just play this already and see if the music plays as well. The music does indeed play, because when I started the game, this flowchart was enabled. It's just on. So I'm actually going to turn it off. I'm going to go back to our other flowchart. And on our button, I am going to go down to scripting, set active, and I'm going to set our audio flowchart to true when I click this button. I'm going to make this button say music. Let's see about this. And indeed, the music starts playing. I think something like this flowchart enabled block could be really useful, especially for something like music, where when you enter a new area or a new scene, you would want a certain piece of music to always play. No matter what room you came from, no matter where you were coming from in the game, when the scene flowchart that you enter is enabled, then the music for that scene plays. That's very much how video game music works for the most part. You enter the city, and the music for the city plays. And so you can divide things like that into your flowcharts throughout the game. I could name this living room, and I could name another flowchart bathroom. Fungus is a great organizational tool in that way. And I think game design is a place where the correct organization for how to make a game is really up to you. It's what you feel comfortable. It's how you feel creative and organized, and how you can best make the game that you are envisioning, and how you can best enact your creative process. So, message received is a weird block. To me, I don't exactly know what makes this block different than sort of a call block, because you have to use this send message command to make this block play. And you could just use a call command in the flow category, but this is just another tool in your arsenal. So when I click this button, I'm also going to send a message, and that message will be play. And I'm going to have this block receive the message play, and when it receives that message, it will play. You know, a good use for this message received event handler is if you want to call multiple blocks at the same time. You send them all the same message. You could have a bunch of call commands in a row, but you could use the message received and send the same exact message to multiple blocks and have them all play at the same time. You want a bunch of sound effects to play at the same time. You want a bunch of cards to move in your card game at the same exact time. The message is like shuffle the deck, and you want all the cards to shuffle around. These are the possible uses you could use for this message received block. Message received. Smarty. Let's just check to see if I'm lying and if this really works. I'll click that, and it says message received Smarty. Okay, let's move on to the very last event handler of the day, which is the save point loaded event handler. Now, I am definitely going to go way deeper into saving and loading in a later video, because there's a lot that goes on there. In fact, I'm not going to cover this today, because it would involve us going up to Tools, Fungus, creating a save menu and save data and all that jazz. So just a little taste of what's to come. I will be going over saving and loading, in the coming months as I journey through the complete Fungus tutorial. These mono behavior event handlers are completely new, to me at least, but also I believe they're new additions to this version of Fungus, and I haven't learned how to use them yet, but they seem extremely useful. And so I will definitely be learning and making a video about these. From what I'm seeing and from the new things I'm seeing and the new commands that Fungus has, Fungus can do way more than a point and click. Fungus can be used to make any type of video game. So if you are feeling stuck or hopeless and you don't know if you can make the video game you want, I'm fairly certain that Fungus can help you along the way. Okay. I hope you learned good things this week. Next week, we'll be covering sprites, draggable sprites, clickable objects. I'll be sort of introducing the concept as if you could make a card game if you're interested in that. I didn't get all the way there, but hopefully I gave enough ideas of how you could make a card game, how you can drag objects, and things that can happen along the way. So I really hope you enjoy it in 2 weeks, and leave a comment on more things you want to see, and subscribe and leave a like, and thank you so much. We love you. So until next time, stay jolly.